Hello grapplers and welcome to a new video. I was making the do's and don'ts and I started thinking about the pokes, and the video was going way too long, so I decided to cut that part and repurpose it as a new video, only talking about pokes, or the buttons I should say. So let's start with the lights. Well, the first one is crouching light kick. This button has one specific purpose, and it's being a defensive poke. Nothing more than that. It is very weird to use this button offensively because you don't get much. Like on block, as you look at this, is -3. Sometimes you can get something like this, like the gapless drive rush and be +1. In my experience, often this button leads me to losing the round. So it's not a button I would use constantly. Only when I'm being pressured by buttons, the opponent is doing something. Since the pushback of this one is kinda strange, sometimes you can whiff your standing light punch, which is the best link you have. Technically it has a gap, 2 frames, but it's the best one you can use. Sadly, due to how much sometimes this button pushes the opponent away, this will whiff. Thus, my recommendation overall is hitting just one and see what happens. Either one perfect parry if you feel the opponent is trying to do something, one backdash, one neutral jump, and so on and so on. Standing light kick, when I saw the patch notes, I read this button had less pushback on hit. I thought it was going to be the perfect tool to buffer into OD lariat or regular lariat. Sadly, that is not the case. So the time you're trying to whiff punish with this thing, the OD lariat will whiff. So what's going on? What's the use? Basically the same. Whiff punishment scenarios. You will not poke with this button because it's very slow in terms of recovery. That is, 7 frames is alright. It's low for a light, but the range is decent. Very good. You're gonna use this as a whiff punishment tool only. Nothing more than that. You don't poke with this button on block or on hit. You don't go and do this with Zangief. And thanks to the change to crouching medium kick, now you can do something very easily on punish counter or counter hit, which is whiff punish with crouching with standing light kick, going to drive rush and do this. If there's a light you're gonna abuse and you're gonna use a lot, it's crouching light punch. It's good at poking, blocking or hit. The less pushback of 2 or 3 is better to set up something else. So it's mostly a good tool by itself. You can use it obviously in combination with this one. But by itself, it's a great tool. You can use it to poke, offensively poke, whiff punish sometimes, react to things with this button. It will give you, if it's a punish counter, you will be +10. So you can go into any of your mediums which have really good ranges. So you can use something like, sorry, that was weird. Something like this. As you can see, we're gonna take a look at standing medium kick later. But this is great. Overall, great button. My only issue with crouching light punch is the range sometimes. You feel at some point it should be connecting. A part of my brain feels this should connect with the opponent here, and it doesn't. So sometimes you can start walking, crouching light punch, and you can whiff. And even though the whiff is really fast, 8 frames, they might be mashing a light and you will get hit by this, or a crouching medium kick or something. A standing light punch, I think people don't use it correctly. Most of the time they try to go for more standing light kicks, which is fine. But this is a whiff punisher, and this, although it can work as a whiff punisher, it is not necessarily the best one Zangief has. Your standing light punch is your setup tool, setup in terms of distance. You are positioning with this button, and you're +2. So usually here, you have even more chances to go for a mid afterwards. It is not weird to do this or this, because the +2 can help to make the mediums, all of them have really good hitboxes by the way, hit with almost any button from the opponent. If you are close and you are your strength with one standing light punch, you're gonna probably be in a really good space to do a light SPD, OD SPD, or maybe set up a knee or a headbutt. It's a really good button on block when you're close and when you are far from the opponent. Because here you just produce a situation. It's not necessarily a button you're gonna use to constantly poke the opponent like this, but it is a great button when you try to set up distance and a response from the opponent. If they're drive rushing, if they're really good at trying to do random stuff that moves them forwards, this button will basically stop them in their tracks. It is really hard to whiff punish because it recovers super fast, and the range is pretty good. Although it doesn't seem like it, it is a pretty good button in terms of range. Now we go into the mediums. Standing medium punch, it's more consistent. You can still whiff the target combo. It is decent when you drive rush too. You're gonna be +2. But overall, this button hasn't changed that much, other than just a little bit more of a consistency, and that's what the button needed. Sadly, you can still, as I said, whiff the target combo. You have better buttons to poke from far, from over here. Still a good button overall, like you can react to very telegraph drive rushes, you can hit them with this thing and get the full target combo. It is also pretty good when you're walking back. For example, if you're poking like this, and you walk back after 2 or 3 lights, when they're being really zealous and they will try to do something after being poked with blood frames specifically. So it is a good button for that in combination with the standing light punch, as any of the other mediums is great. This is great stuff for Zangief. In terms of general poking, I think it's gonna be overshadowed by another button we're gonna look in a few seconds. It's still a great button for general poking and walking back and doing standing medium punch. And also if you're close and you see the counter hit, just go for it. Over here you will rarely whiff it now. You hit with the fingers, you will absolutely never get the next part of the target combo, but if you hit someone with your entire hand, with the palm of the hand, you're gonna probably get the full target combo. Crouching medium punch has less pushback now. It's mostly for consistency, for combos. You get more meter out of this than this, so if you are close enough for a combo, you might still want to go for crouching medium punch. Although, apart from that, it is mostly the same button. It is very difficult to whiff punish with this thing. The range is very strange, very difficult to gauge when are you in place for a whiff punishment. Should you get one counter hit, you can go into headbutt immediately. If it is a punish counter, you can go into standing heavy punch. But the options are good. The problem is knowing when to use it. You don't have enough frames to do something like this. If the opponent is being very defensive, you might go for this. It's mostly, again, a combo filler. One thing it has going on is it has some decent lost frames drive rush. If you use it like here, that's a true block string, +3, so maybe you can abuse it in some scenarios, but it's not a button you'll use outside of combos. Oh baby, standing medium kick. This button is frankly amazing. I wouldn't be surprised if they nerf this one in the future, because right now it is extremely useful. As a whiff punisher, it's probably with standing heavy punch your 2 best whiff punishers. From here, if you cannot get standing light kick and go for a combo, or you don't want to spend the meter, these 2 are the best ones. In combination, they are literally hell for the opponent to deal with. The issue is, obviously, it recovers pretty slow. It's very weak to the eyes. That's all something we already knew about Zangief's medium, so it's not that surprising to see that happening still. But overall, this is a fantastic whiff punishment tool. And even if you don't whiff punish with it, you just set it up, as I said, with standing light punch or crouching light punch. Even just doing this, the amount of damage you're taking from the opponent, frankly absurd. So you can definitely abuse this button even when you know it's gonna be blocked, not necessarily it's gonna hit. A great button overall, very hard to whiff punish over here, and when you're recovering from the kick, it also doesn't have a hurt box, extended hurt box forward, so it's very difficult to whiff punish with crouching medium kick. For example, if you're Ken and you try to whiff punish this with crouching medium kick, probably you will whiff. That means Zangief can do this again and hit you. Crouching medium kick didn't change this that much. It's a better combo filler tool than crouching medium punch. Overall, it's the same button. It's still a good button with disjointed hitbox, same as this, and this, to be honest. Even Hellstab is really good for that. You can catch back dashes with it sometimes, but I think overall a more consistent standing medium punch and a really good standing medium kick button kinda lost its purpose a little bit. Still a low with a good range, so you're gonna use it anyways. As I said, it is a better combo tool from afar, from over here, than crouching medium punch. Like if you get this into drive rush, you will use crouching medium kick just to secure the Hellstab or the Lariat. If I'm being honest, again, I just prefer to use this one or this one. Heavies! Standing heavy punch, still goated. This button is fantastic. If you're starting to use Zangief and you don't have any idea what buttons to use, crouching light punch and standing heavy punch, probably also standing medium kick. Only with these 3 buttons, you can create a game plan. Those 3 buttons are that important. Standing heavy punch excellent, very hard to whiff punish. You can hold it for the armor. The armor is a little more consistent as anti-air now, if you hold it a little bit. Armor still is at frame 4, so it is technically a 4-framer if you use the armor, so you can escape some situations on block with Zangief with this thing. Very good to counter the ice. It is such an insane button. It's great at almost everything. Obviously weak to the ice, you have to be careful about those, but overall, if the opponent doesn't know when you're gonna use it, that's the idea here. You try to be creative and not try to be repetitive with the button. You can produce some nasty scenarios. If you're not using it, why? At first I thought crouching heavy punch was going to be a replacement for other punish counters. Sadly, it is really hard to get the proper crouching heavy punch. Sometimes you're over here and you don't always get the follow-up. Even if you go for wheel kick, which is supposedly the go-to if you don't know what to do, you can still whiff that thing. Due to how inconsistent it is, I think its only real use, well, it has 2 uses, but the best use by far is as a whiff punishment, as a punish counter tool in the corner, so you can go for this. This is probably the best 2 drive 1 super without a stun you're gonna get. And also as a perfect parry, if you perfect parry a mid, medium, a heavy, or some specials, you can go into this and go for the drive rush knee, health stab, and get a lot of corner carry. Not lights, well, with the exception of some lights. It's a very niche anti-air. I've seen some uses as anti-airs against Kimberly, for example, and I think it works for that. Also maybe against Akuma, but it is not a good anti-air. Sweep, mostly the same. This might be the one button that didn't change that much. Because it didn't change at all. It's still a great whiff punisher, amazing. As you know by now, if you get the punish counter, that is mostly guaranteed. Great whiff punisher, nothing else to say. Very punishable, be careful with this thing. -13, so almost everyone in the game can whiff punish this. Standing heavy kick. Now that I think about it, this button needs some changes. Very niche with Punisher. In punish counter scenarios, especially if they whiff a Shoryuken, I think it's just better to drive rush headbutt by this point rather than doing this health stab and something. In the corner, you can get the anti-air. If you're close enough, you can get standing heavy kick and then OD burst. Nope. You need to use OD burst. I guess if you get the punish counter, you can get the regular burst. Doesn't hit crouchers. 13 frames. Yeah, this button is lacking now. It needs a little bit of sauce. I don't think you're gonna use standing heavy kick that much as season 1. The command normals. Health stab, extremely niche anti-air in some matchups like Kami. Also a really good combo filler, really good combos on hit, really good frame traps. Like this is a true block string, +2, great stuff. Also a true block string, +3. Very good at creating something. You can try to whiff punish with this. I still think of all the buttons Zangief has, this is the most flexible on hit and on block, especially after a combo. I feel by now it needs a few changes. Hopefully in the future they do something about it. You build more mirror now also, before I forget. If you get it on hit, use drive rush and go crazy. Wheel kick is very easy to space now. Don't abuse it like crazy, but it is way easier to space. Like, look at this. Maybe Zangief can SPD here. Yeah, Zangief should be able to SPD himself. Can drive rush in order to make it even crazier. If the opponent is in burnout, this is nuts. It's absolutely disgusting. It is extremely effective somehow. Now with the changes, I'm gonna say this button has to be used in the neutral. If you don't know what to use, and the opponent is just respecting you way too much, you can just walk back, boom, and go for this thing. Specifically, in some matchups I use it more than others, like if I'm playing against JP or Dalsim. Punish counter before I forget. Really good punish counter damage out of it if you're close or in the corner. The Smetana drop kick. Its only use is punish counter in the corner. That's it. Nothing more. It doesn't work for anything else. Maybe in the Yuri matchup you can get this thing against her fireball. Horrible, horrible button. Knee is another button that changed significantly. Space it correctly, you can get it to a -2 or even plus. If the opponent is blocking, you can get 3 lights into a knee that is usually +3, getting hit by 4 crouchy lights. This is also plus. Otherwise, you want to space yourself with drive rush. You can get used to space yourself after a couple of lights. There we go. Not that difficult. However, it's not consistent enough. If you're drive rushing and you do it really close, you're always gonna be +1. At worst, you're gonna be +1. If you space yourself better, you can be +3, +4. And on hit, you can be +7, +8 if you do it correctly. and follow up with a health stab. In my opinion, knee is better overall. The consistency is not the best, and it's still 14 frames. Consider how much you get out of the other 14 frame move, headbutt. It is difficult to justify. However, it goes over lows, so it has a use. Like if the opponent is going for way too many crouching medium kicks, it's good in certain matchups, but it's not the best. And you always need to space yourself, otherwise it's not a really good tool to poke the opponent with. You can do the crazy, you know, the classic. It will catch a lot of people pressing buttons, but overall I don't think this is a move you will be abusing as I originally thought. Try to be pause, they can actually jump or press a longer button. Remember, this is good and all, that doesn't mean it cannot be interrupted. The airdrop kick has seen less and less use now. You have more consistent stun combos. Doing this, I still do it sometimes because I like it. It's so janky. It's a huge gamble to go for this with Zangief. I do love doing this. Or super level 3 sometimes, just because it's kinda nuts. But it's not necessarily a good tool. With the current patch, this is largely a tool you have to avoid. I feel this is lacking in several areas to be justifiable. Headbutt, extremely niche. Technically, you do more damage doing this than this. That is technically your meterless best combo after stun. You have to set this up in order to work. I don't think it's consistent enough. It's mostly a setup tool. Or if the opponent is stunned, you can go into this. We are gonna talk about stumps. Don't use this. You build more meter with stumps rather than health stab, but the lack of damage is significant. It's really hard to use this thing. Forget they exist. Final area is jumping normals. None of them have changed in any way. Jumping heavy punch is still the best tool for almost every single safe jump Zangief has. With the exception of playing against Honda, you're gonna replace that with jumping medium punch. In general, in the air, if you're jumping forwards, you're gonna use heavy punch or medium kick. Sometimes you'll go for jumping heavy kick, and that's fine. But if you're close enough for a regular jump in, this is just way better. If you're jumping back, light punch is still the best option. It's a cross-up. This thing is absolutely weird to use. Most of the time you're gonna be zero, which sucks. So I don't trust this that much. I do use it for something cheeky like this, but I think jumping light kick absolutely sucks in this game. It's not a good move. Same with body splash. Body splash is weird. The move is just bizarre. Sometimes I whiff it, sometimes I don't. Do have to use body splash because the reward for this is huge. It's not like you have to avoid it at all. It has a really good hitbox for cross-ups, but the hurtbox is horrible. You're gonna use this almost every single time you jump. It's just that good. Hopefully we'll see some changes in the future, because I still feel there are some areas where Zangief needs more love. At the moment I feel the lights are lacking in terms of the general scenario, the general gameplay with Zangief. I think these two are lacking to contribute that much. Maybe crouching light kick more than something like it, but still I feel these two are weird. Thank you as always for being here. I hope you had fun watching this video and learned something. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button. That's always helpful. Maybe you can go and watch the Twitch channel where we talk about a lot of things. I hope you have a great week. Take care as always. Keep playing grapplers, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.